now give the floor to His Excellency, Mr. Péter Szijjártó, Minister for Foreign Affairs and Trade of Hungary.
I am representing a neighboring country of Ukraine, a country which has been living in the shadow of the war for the last more than 500 days, a war impacts and consequences of which are serious and direct on our country. The Hungarian people have been already paying a high price for this war, although bearing no responsibility for it. In the meantime, I am representing a nation, members of which are among the casualties of this war, given the fact that there's a significant Hungarian community living in Ukraine, around 150,000, members of which, as Ukrainian citizens, are being mobilized to the army in Ukraine, and a lot of them, unfortunately, have already died. And as a representative of a neighboring country and a nation, members of which are dying in this war, I'd like to continue to argue in favor of peace to be created as soon as possible, although I understand this is not falling totally in line with the mainstream positions, and we continue to do so even if we are being criticized and attacked for this position of ours. And as a neighboring country, and as a representative of a nation, members of which are dying in this war, we still do believe that the solution is not on the battlefield, but around the negotiating table. And we hear very often that the circumstances and the conditions are not given to launch negotiations to find a diplomatic solution. But allow me to express a different opinion of ours. We do believe that the conditions to launch negotiations to reach a diplomatic solution are getting worse and worse day by day. The longer this war is going to take, the more weapons are occurring in our neighborhood, the more people will die, and the devastation and destruction in our neighborhood will be more and more severe. So we wish that international community would bring more peace to our neighborhood than weapons. And we all know, Mr. President, that in case we cut the channels of communication, then we literally give up the hope for peace. Therefore, we really do appreciate and respect the efforts to make peace in our neighborhood and the missions which are launched with this target. We'd like to express our respect to the Holy See, to the President of Turkey, and to the African countries, which, although are located far away from the war, but they are confronted with the very serious challenges as an impact of the war as well. And I also would like to highlight the importance of the safe supply of food all around the world, especially in the fragile regions, where shortage of food can very easily cause serious security-related challenges, which for the first time might be local, but then they would spread around the world and become global as well. And they can end up in further migratory waves, which will further increase the global threat of terror. And we all see that we cannot cope with one security-related challenge, so how can we cope with more? Mr. President, unfortunately, if we take into consideration the last 80 years, it's not an exaggeration to say that the global security in its worst shape currently. There are open and shameless references to nuclear capacities. And the chance for the outbreak of the Third World War is more imminent than ever before. And we also see a regrettable long-term consequence that the world is making huge steps in order to be divided into blocks again. And we Central Europeans have very bad historic experiences in this regard, because no one would like to listen to that, and based on history that might be uncomfortable for many to listen to that. But whenever there was a conflict between East and West, we Central Europeans were always left alone, and we always lost on these occasions. So when we argue in favor of a civilized cooperation between East and West, for which we might have some small chance for the future, we do it because this is our national interest. And the longer this war takes, the chance will be much smaller for that. Thank you.
I thank His Excellency Mr. Szijjártó for his statement, and I give the floor